हाय एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू डेटा टेस्टिंग जोन। तो इन लास्ट वीडियो हमने देखा था कि यूटिलिटीज हम लोग क्या क्या यूज करने वाले हैं। लाइक वी रोट टू यूटिलिटीज फंक्शंस, राइट? दैट इज वैलिडेट स्कीमा एंड वैलिडेट नॉट null, and it is quite evident by the name what these two methods are actually doing. We also tested it, giving some of the sample data. Okay. One thing that I would like to tell you, whoever is seeing this video in this in this series, so this particular file is not needed in the framework. This I have just created for testing our unit testing while we are creating some methods, so that we know that okay, this is working. Okay, we might need some changes here and there when we actually collate everything and do actual execution. So hang on till there. We'll go to that part as well. But yeah, this is just for unit testing part. Okay, so you don't need to bother about this what we are doing and all that. This is just for explanation purpose. Cool. So we are going to start today contest.py file. Okay, we are going to create a contest.py. So in simple language, contest.py क्या होता है? It is a special kind of file जो Pytest project में ही होते हैं. ठीक है, whenever we use Pytest framework, contest.py का नाम आप काफी सुनते होंगे. तो ये जनरली फिक्चर्स शेयर करने के लिए यूज करते हैं विदाउट इम्पोर्टिंग देम. ठीक है, तो व्हेन आई से दिस, अभी बहुत ज्यादा मतलब हौच पौच लगा होगा सुनने में, तो कुछ नहीं, बस इसमें आप ऐसा समझ सकते हो जो हम लोग टीयर अप और टीयर डाउन मेथड्स लिखते हैं ना. लाइक फॉर एन एग्जांपल, जब भी आप सेलेनियम के टेस्ट केसेस लिखते हो तो वी फर्स्ट सेट अप द ब्राउजर, राइट? वी लॉन्च द ब्राउजर एंड देन वी क्लोज द ब्राउजर. सो वी डू दैट, राइट, वेयर टू एग्जीक्यूट. So launching the browser will come in tier up, and closing the browser will come in tear down method. So setup और tear down, ये चीजें जो होती है वो उसको हम लोग fixture बोलते हैं. Why? Because we don't need to do it every now and then. Now suppose I have to validate a schema, validate not null. So I will read the DF at once only. I will read this DF at once and I will validate. I will connect a connection with the Postgres once only, and then I will do my validation. I want to, for every of the test cases, I don't need to connect to Postgres every time, right? तो अब ये हम लोग प्रोग्रामेटिकली कैसे बताएंगे कि हमें ये बस एक ही टाइम एक सेशन के लिए चाहिए, उसके बाद ये क्लोज हो जाना चाहिए. तो दिस इज व्हाट कॉन्टेस्ट डू. दिस इज द पावर ऑफ कॉन्टेस्ट. ठीक है, तो अब इसमें देयर इज अ फीचर लाइक कि ये जो भी फिक्चर्स हम लोग यहाँ डिफाइन करेंगे ये ऑटोमेटिकली पाइटेस्ट फाइंड कर लेता है. ठीक है, ये दिस इज अ एडवांटेज. आई मीन वी डोंट हैव टू एक्सप्लिसिटली मेंशन एनीथिंग और इम्पोर्ट एनीथिंग. दिस इज डिटेक्टेड ऑटोमेटिकली. और फिक्चर्स में स्कोपिंग का भी देयर इज अ फैसिलिटी ऑफ स्कोपिंग आल्सो. आई एक्सप्लेन यू व्हाट स्कोपिंग एंड ऑल डज. बट स्कोपिंग इज नथिंग बट अगर आपको सेशन वाइज कुछ टेस्ट केसेस चलाने हैं, मॉड्यूल वाइज चलाने हैं, आई मीन फंक्शन वाइज चलाने हैं, क्लास वाइज चलाने हैं, डिफरेंट स्कोप्स होते हैं, राइट? जब आप एक फ्रेमवर्क बनाते हो, कुछ टेस्ट केसेस के डिफरेंट स्कोप होते हैं. कुछ आपको इंडिपेंडेंटली चलाना होता है तो वो फंक्शन स्कोप हो गया. ठीक है, कुछ आपको एक पैकेज के तहत चलाना पड़ता है, वो पैकेज स्कोप हो गया. और कुछ आपको एक पूरे सेशन में चलाना पड़ता है, वो सेशन स्कोप हो गया. तो फॉर अस वी विल बी क्रिएटिंग फिक्चर्स एज अ सेशन स्कोप. व्हाई? बिकॉज इन दिस एंटायर सेशन, for entire of the test cases execution, we would need our DB connectivity on. ठीक है, तो ये एक entire session की बात हो गई. So for that we will be creating this. Now suppose उसके बाद session कौन से ऐसे test cases होंगे जो session से बाहर होंगे. Now suppose we have collected all the data. Now we have certain numbers with us. ठीक है, अब वो numbers को हमें एक business file के साथ compare करना है. So for that we don't need connectivity to Postgres, right? We have already collected that somewhere and kept it as a variable, stored it in a variable. तो अब हमें DB connectivity की जरूरत नहीं है वापस से वो जाके fetch करने के लिए. So in that cases, if suppose if we have written any kind of fixture in that case, तो हम लोग उसको as a function scope दे सकते हैं कि ये बस हमें function के जैसा चलाना है. We don't need it in the session. Okay. So I'll explain you with an example. I will write down an contest.py file. I mean the code for contest.py. Will be an example for us before moving, and we will again test it, and then we will move on to write actual code that we are going to use it in framework. Okay. So we will do Pytest, import Pytest. Then we will do import Pandas as PD. Okay. And then I will keep this as Pytest dot fixture, and then we will keep the scope is equal to session. ओके। और जैसे एक नॉर्मल मेथड बनाते हैं वैसे ही हम लोग ये मेथड बनाएंगे इसमें। जस्ट वी हैव गिवन दिस मेथड एज अ फिक्चर, वी हैव आइडेंटि मेड दिस द आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ दैट मेथड, दिस मेथड एज अ फिक्चर। ठीक है। नाउ विल क्रिएट अ सैम्पल डीएफ। नाउ व्हाट, I'll just print something also so that you can, whenever we will run this, you will see that create sample data frame। ओके। अब ये पिक्चर क्या करेगा, ये सैंपल जब भी हम लोग किसी भी टेस्ट केस के पहले कॉल करेंगे ये एक सैंपल डेटा फ्रेम कॉल करेगा, बना के रख देगा। तो वी विल गिव दैट डेटा फ्रेम, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू क्रिएट ऑटोमेटिकली, ऑब्वियसली वी नीड टू क्रिएट इट एंड देन वी नीड टू कॉल इट। ओके, इट इज डेटा फ्रेम। ठीक है। सो वी विल डू इट एज id, I need to put it as small, 1 comma 2, why is there a comma here? And then another one we will give it as name, and then it will be Alice, and then it will be okay. So this is going to create a data frame whenever we will need this contest. Whenever we will call this picture, it will create a data frame automatically for us. Okay. Now what we will do is we will go to test. Now how to test it? So we will go to util standalone, and then we will create a test sample df fixture. Now, how to call this fixture before we are not importing it, we are not doing anything, right? So how do we call this fixture? So whenever we want to call a fixture in a particular test case, we will put sample df here. तो ये sample df कुछ नहीं है, ये sample df ये मेथड का नाम है जो हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे बनाया है। ठीक है। और यही वाला मेथड को हम लोग एज अ फिक्चर यहाँ पे पास कर रहे हैं। Now what we will do is we will do assert list sample df, और इसके नेम में we remember what were the things, right? So we will say that the names, so we will put here Alice and Bob. Okay, so we are going to test it. Now what I will do is I will skip these test cases for now and just run that one. So for that I am putting it as mark dot skip. ठीक है। See, I'm not going to take a detailed session on Pytest right now. There are very a lot of features of Pytest if we go to, I mean, if we go deep in it. तो अगर आपको इस पे detailed video चाहिए, let me know in the comments. I will create a detailed video on Pytest. ठीक है। In this one, we are limiting to whatever we need in this framework. If you need detail, तो आप मुझे comments में बता सकते हो। ठीक है। So now we are done. We are going to test this fixture sample df, okay, inside this particular method. And what we are asserting is if the name has these two things or these two names or not. ठीक है। नेम की के पास एलिस और बॉब है या नहीं। ठीक, दिस इज व्हाट वी नीड टू डू। So we are going to do pytest -bs and then test utils standalone .py. Great. So if you see, it has skipped these two and it has ran only creating sample data frame. Okay. Now from where are we getting this? If you type these parameters, right, -vns, it is going to give you verbose as well. So it is coming from here, creating sample data frame. So while it executed, it is printing the print statement in the terminal. Okay. So it has passed. Now the name has these two. Now suppose I'm just putting I here to test if it is failing or not. It should ideally fail because it doesn't have Bobby, it has Bob. Is it? Why did it pass? Sample df name is equal to Alice and this. Just a second. We are creating this particular data frame and we are doing this. Might it was not updated at that time. Let us run this. Okay, this is strange. Why it is passing it even though I am not. Let me check this. Okay, I understood the error. So what was happening here was when I was closing this parenthesis over here, it was just asserting that this particular result is giving us list or not. Okay. So obviously this particular comparison was giving us list, even though the element was true here, it was giving a Boolean kind of value, but this one is true, this one is false. But again, the value was list. So it was just asserting if the outcome of this particular thing was list or not. So to do it in a correct way, we just need to compare this particular list as Alice and Bob. Okay. Now if we run this, we will be able to know if the test case is passing or failing. Ideally, it should fail because of assertion error. Okay. Now it has failed because of assertion error. Okay. So now we are good here. I mean, we have tested the fixture. We have seen how we can create a fixture and create, test it also with the sample data. Now let us create a real-time fixture. Okay. This one, I'll just put it as comment, create it just to explain. This is not an actual code and this won't be required. Okay. So I'll just comment it out for now. And let us move ahead with actual fixtures that we would need in our framework. So let me do CLS. Okay, great. So we will be creating, now we already have Pytest, we already have Pandas. What we will do is we will import DB connection class. You remember we have created here DB connection class that is going to connect to DB. So we are going to import this. Okay. So where is our contest.file? Okay. Now we will do from source.db connection. Okay. Is it a package? Yes, it is a package. We will import db connection. Okay. Why? Because we are going to use this function. I'll tell you how. The functions inside this particular class, the methods inside this particular class. Tell you how. So we will say that pytest dot fixture. Pytest. Okay. Pytest dot fixture, and then we will create the scope as session. Okay. And then we will create a fixture over here, db, and then we will put some good, comments over here like db connection for session. Okay. Now next is we will do connection is equal to db. Now I told you whenever we call whenever we create an object of a class that has constructor with it, we need to pass on all these parameters. Okay. So we will put this over here and then go here and we will keep it as this. Okay. So make sure that you put your host, whatever your host name is. I will just put here your host name. Okay. And then again, your DB name that you have created. You will get all these details from Supabase. I explained in last video as well. Last video that you are going to get all details related to Postgres connection in Supabase only. Once you go to connect, click on connect link and get the string from there, parameters from there. And then DB name is done, host, DB name, user and password. Okay. And then port. So this will be your username. Okay, and then password is again your password. Port you can give whatever port you are using. Okay, SSL required वापस से लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है because we have already assigned the value of this, so even if we don't give it, it will be fine. Okay. Okay. Now, once we have created this entire thing, what we will do is we will yield. Yield is nothing but it will create a connection. Okay. It will basically it will return this particular connection and store this inside this const variable. Okay. Now we will do con dot. There is one more function, right? So we are doing this here. So this is the fixture that we have created. Inside this fixture, we are doing nothing but calling this particular class, creating an object of this particular class and creating the connection. Okay. So whenever we call this the object of this particular class, we are going to initialize the DB. We are going to load the DB. Okay. Now next is Perfect. There is the code for it. Okay. So the next fixture that we are going to do is we will load the CSV file. This is also a one-time thing, right? We are going to validate our data with respect to source. So we are going to load this particular thing. So we are going to show as scope is equal to, again, session. ये भी session wise ही होगा. So we are going to create it in session. And then we are going to say that load superstore data. Superstore CSV. ठीक है? And then we will give this. Then again, we are going to give some comments. Good. And then we are going to load it. So we will say that return pd dot, okay, pd dot read CSV, correct? Read CSV, and then the data is inside data. So for this, we need to get out of this folder, right? We need to get out of this folder, and then we are going to go inside data, and then we are going to go inside sample store. Great. So you must have seen that we have done all this, right? We have done all this. We have read the data and we did everything. I mean, in data loader, we have already tested. We have loaded the data and we have already tested. So this is the same path we are giving there. Okay. Just a simple thing. I believe this is going to be like this. Okay. Python. You read my path. Okay. Now, is it going to be like that? Yeah, it's correct. Okay. Now next is, this is done. This is one of the fixture again, and one more fixture we would need, right? We would need test cases. Test cases भी हमें read करना है. Though we have not yet imported the test cases file here, but we will do so. So not to get worried, we'll just create a fixture for that. Creating a fixture don't take any pre-requirement, right? I mean, we can create a session code. Now we will do this as dev test cases file. Okay, and then we will create it like this. Again, with substring, we'll do Excel driven test cases. Okay, and then we are going to do it as return pd dot read Excel, and then we will just read. I will keep the data, the test cases inside this file only. So let me copy this particular path and give it here. Okay, and I will give it as test cases. Okay, right now it is going to show give us error, but again, this is not, I mean, this won't be an error. We will be using this file when we will load it. So in the next session, we will load the test file and we will start writing our test data validations file. So this is the file where we are going to do entire validation using all of these files that we have created. Okay, so our contest is ready. Now there is nothing that, we have created our setup method and everything. So we are good here. And then in next session, we'll start writing the test cases. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for watching.